Welcome to Inside Arbitrage. In this video, we'll cover a few of our custom screens, a special feature that you can gain access to with your premium subscription. The first screen that we'll take a look at is the screen for insider cluster purchases. While we track every single insider transaction under our insider buying and insider selling tabs, buying by multiple insiders of a company, also known as a cluster purchase, is a much stronger signal. Through the Insider Cluster Purchases screen, which you can navigate to from under the Premium tab in our navigation bar, you can specify the number of insiders you'd like to see purchasing shares, the specific types of insider that are buying stock, and the size of the transaction. You can also modify the filing date range, transaction price, and the filing delay, which determines the number of days between when the purchases actually took place and when the SEC Form 4s were filed. There are two other options that you can enable before applying these filters. The first is to exclude cluster purchases where all the insiders are purchasing shares at the same price. And this can help eliminate most cluster purchases that result from a secondary offering or an automatic employee purchase plan offered by the company. The second option is to exclude cluster purchases where the number of shares is a small, odd number. Once again, in an effort to remove any purchases that stem from events like dividend reinvestment plans. Once you apply the filters, the table will repopulate accordingly with a list of companies that meet your criteria. Other information displayed will include the number of insiders that purchased shares, both the transaction date and the filing date, and the cost, number of shares, and total value of the purchases. Clicking on the plus symbol to the very left of any of the stock symbols will bring up a more detailed table about each purchase by specific insiders that participated in the cluster buying. For example, if I click the plus symbol right next to VF Corp, the apparel and footwear company known for brands such as Vans, North Face, Timberland, and more, I can see the details about the purchases made by the two insiders, the CEO and a director. The Fundamentals tab allows you to further filter the results by benchmarks such as price, value, balance sheet strength, management effectiveness, growth, and other metrics like the dividend yield. Each of these categories or benchmarks has a number of filters that can be applied. For example, in the price category, I can set a certain market cap range, or in the Management Effectiveness tab, I can filter by a certain net profit margin. Hitting the Apply Filters button will refresh the data according to the constraints set above, and the Reset Filters button will restore all filters to their default settings. That's it for the cluster buying screen. Let's move on and cover a few other screens that are included as part of your premium subscription. The top performing insider screen is quite simple. It looks at all insider purchases and returns a list of insiders that generated the most returns from their purchase or purchases. The Fundamentals tab on this screener is identical to the one described before, so we'll focus on the Insider tab for now. The filters you can apply and modify are the filing date range of the purchase, the performance period on which we are judging returns, and the type of insider. Hitting Apply Filters populates the table below with the appropriate information, including columns such as the insider's name and the company they purchased shares of, their role at the company's market cap, and the average return. Much like before, clicking the plus symbol to the very left of the stock symbol allows you to see a more detailed record of the purchase. We can look to the insurance company, American Coastal Insurance, as an example here. By clicking on the plus symbol, we can see that President and CFO Brad Martz purchased shares both in 2022 and 2021. But let's focus exclusively on the 2022 purchases for a moment. We can see that he purchased 45,000 shares at a cost of approximately 53 cents per share. Given that our performance period was set to 6 months, we can see the ending price 6 months after his purchases, which was around $4.55 per share, returning approximately 765%. It is important to note that reverse splits often impact the screen. However, we frequently check to make sure we exclude these kinds of discrepancies. Every once in a while, though, one might slip through the cracks. It is a good idea to independently verify data, and we make this easy for you by providing a direct link to the original Form 4 filed with SEC. The last three screens we'll discuss all track different things, but the filters that you can apply are all very similar. To explain what I mean by this, let's take a look at the flip-flopper. Flip-floppers don't have a good reputation in politics, as people like to see their politicians hold fast to a set of principles or beliefs, instead of changing them on a whim. Flip-flopping among company insiders is even rarer, as insiders who were buying shares on the open market don't all of a sudden start selling. Nor are you likely to see chronic sellers turn into buyers of their company's stock. The flip-flopper screen, though, tracks the special group of insiders that do. What you are first presented with is the basic screen, which includes a more limited set of filters such as price, market cap, PE value, EV by free cash flow, net profit margin, and revenue growth. You can modify these fields as necessary and apply the filter to populate the table below, but you can also click on the full screener and gain access to numerous other filters that may suit your needs better. For example, you can specify a price per sales range each company should fit within, or look for companies that offer a certain dividend yield. Aside from the filters listed above, you also have the option to include 10% owners in the list of insiders, going beyond just directors and company management. Additionally, you can choose to include options exercises. Furthermore, you can extend the period of time in which the flip-flopping occurred. By default, this is set to less than 6 months. We have this default set due to the short swing profit rule set by the SEC, which discourages insiders from engaging in short-term trading and requires them to give back any profits from trades that happen within a 6-month period. You can read more about the short swing profit rule in our description of this screener by clicking the Read More button at the top. Finally, let's cover the Spinsider and Double Dipper screens, both of which sound like rides at a theme park, but are even more exciting for investors looking for new ideas. The basic screener and full screener tabs for both the Spinsider and Double Dipper are the very same as the flip-flopper, so we'll focus more on the output of these screens instead. The Spinsider screen displays spin-offs that also see insiders of the company purchase shares. By default, the screen is set to only management insiders that are purchasing shares, such as CEOs and CFOs, but by clicking the checkbox, you can also opt to include directors and 10% owners in the list of insiders. There are 2 tabs to this screener. The first is the Spin-offs tab, which provides information about the spin-offs themselves that are seeing insider purchases, while the second is the Parent tab, which provides information about the parent companies that are seeing insider purchases. The columns of both tables are the same. They include information about the spin-off and parent company, price and performance data, and the type of spin-off, as in whether it is a spin-off, split-off, carve-out, or reverse Morris Trust transaction, along with plenty of other data fields. Clicking on the plus symbol to the left of any stock in the Spin-offs tab will bring up a detailed list of insider purchases at the spin-off, while clicking on the plus symbol in the Parent tab will bring up a detailed list of insider purchases at the parent company. To make that slightly confusing statement a little clearer, we can click on the plus symbol next to GEHC, GE's healthcare spinoff. We can then see that the corporate secretary of GE Healthcare purchased shares of GE Healthcare and not of the parent company, GE. Moving on to the last screen, the Double Dipper. As mentioned before, the basic screener and full screener settings and filters are the very same as the Spinsider and flip-flopper, so we'll focus on what the Double Dipper is capable of instead. The Double Dipper tracks companies that are buying back their shares while insiders are independently buying stock on the open market for their own portfolios. We are specifically focusing on an actual reduction in shares outstanding, and not just buyback announcements by companies who sometimes don't follow through and repurchase shares. By default, the screener only looks at insider purchases from the management team, but by clicking on the checkbox, you can choose to include directors and 10% owners. Also by default, the period of consideration is 1 quarter, but you can choose to extend that to up to 2 years. The screen will populate with a list of companies, a link to their 10K and 10Q filings, the percentage change in shares as a result of the share repurchases, as well as the period of the report and previous period. To explain what we mean by that last part, let's look at an example. In the case of Shift 4 Payments, a point of sales and other related transactions company, the last quarter they reported data was Q2 2024, and thus the previous period is Q2 2022, because we set our period of consideration as 2 years. And, as always, if you click on the plus symbol, you can bring up a more detailed list of insider transactions at the company. That's it for our custom premium screens. We hope this video helps you use these screens effectively for your idea generation process, and thank you so much for watching.